I will be putting everybody on mute just in a moment. And we're going to be leaving folks on mute for most of the training. So the way that this is going to go is I've got some stuff we're going to go through. We'll talk about what we're going to cover today. That'll take probably about 40 minutes, and then we'll have a little extra time for questions. So at the end, we'll come back and answer any questions that folks have. Now, while I'm doing the training, if something I'm saying doesn't make sense or you think of a question right there, feel free to just type it into the chat box. I can either pause right at that moment and answer the question if it makes sense. Otherwise, I will come back at the end and make sure to answer any questions I've skipped. So everybody will get a chance to answer or get their questions asked and answered today. All right, so why don't I introduce myself? So my name is Christian Norton. I am the trainer today. I am with the firm Concerted Action. So we are a consulting firm that works with unions and economic justice organizations. We kind of specialize in digital organizing and the kind of digital tools that power digital organizing. So a lot of that work includes Action Network, which is the technology we're going to cover here today. All right, so the other folks I wanted to introduce just briefly, they can stay on mute, but I have two people from my team here today. I've got Maura and I've got Peter here with me. They will be in the chat a little bit, helping with questions, Peter in particular, but I wanted to introduce them just so you guys know that if you reach out to the help desk, it may be one of them or myself that's answering. So I've already mentioned the help desk. Let's make sure everybody knows what that is. I'm going to type something into the chat box. We have a help desk set up. So now if you have any questions about Action Network or any of the rest of the technologies that we use to do our digital communications and digital organizing at Poor People's Campaign, you may email us at ppc@concertedaction.zendesk.com. So that is our help desk email address. Email your question directly to us, and then somebody on our team will get back to you. So it may be myself, and maybe Peter, maybe Maura. You know, whoever's best to answer that question will answer your question. But we are here to answer questions for you. So feel free to email questions, you know, whenever you have them. We're here to help. All right, let me go ahead and share my screen now. Just so folks know, we are recording today's training, and we'll try to make it available to folks after the call if they want to review the training and watch the video later. So let me share my screen. All right, and I am going to stop my video just so we don't have any bandwidth issues. So we're just going to have my screen up just like that. So let me go ahead and do that. And then I want to make sure I can see the chat. All right, perfect. All right, so the topics we're going to cover today is I'm going to cover the dashboard. So that's the screen I'm on right now. I'm going to talk about what we have here and what this page is used for. We're going to talk about sending an email. I'm going to walk through how to set it up, how to do targeting, kind of reviewing some of the options that happen after you send an email. We're going to specifically walk through setting up an event and how to set up a new event. I'm going to talk about the targeting of folks that have RSVP'd to an event, how you can pull a list of those folks later. We're going to talk about the discussion board, got a lot of things to cover there. I'm going to talk about reports. So I'm going to spend a little time just showing the reporting tool, talking about the different options that are there, and you know, answer questions that folks have about that. Then we're going to come back at the end and we'll definitely ask questions. So if you have things that, again, at any point, if you have questions, things that I'm saying that don't make sense, topics you want answered that I'm not covering, go ahead and type it in the chat box. If I can, I'll pause right then and answer it. If not, we're going to keep track of it and come back at the end and answer any questions I missed. All right, so this is the dashboard. So this is the screen that most folks are going to see when they log in. So I am in the group right now called the training group. So your group's name would be up at top. So you know, if you're most of you are in a state group. So if you're you know, managing North Carolina, you're going to see North Carolina up there at the top. This page here has a lot of reporting on it. So I'm going to talk about two things here that I'm going to show up on every page. I'm going to go through some of the features that are on this page. So the first thing is right up at the top. So the start organizing bar, it's the nav bar that's right there at the top. So this start organizing bar is what you're going to use to navigate around to the different tools on the site. So this is how you're going to set up an email. It's going to how you're fine to set up an event. So this is really your main kind of navigation toolbar up here at the top. The next toolbar that's on this page is kind of in the middle of the screen. It starts with statistics. So these are all the tabs that we have on our sort of the desktop dashboard management page. So I'm going to walk through just a couple of these. I'm not going to go through all of them. But the first tab here, the statistics tab, this does give you a great overview of the the Action Network group that you're managing. So you can see how many donations you have in the last week. You can see the size of your email list, if folks have unsubscribed or new actions have been taken. Just kind of a top level view of your group. Next, we have the Actions tab. So this is where all your actions that you've already created are going to show up. So once you've created an action, if you need to find it again, to edit it, or pull a report, that's going to be the second tab right here, the Actions tab. I want to clarify what the word action means in Action Network. So it's Action Network. They call everything an action, unsurprisingly. So if it's something that a person does for you, so if it's a form that your supporters submit, if it's a page that they're going to RSVP on, if it's a petition they're going to sign, those are all actions, and you're going to find them on the Actions tab. So you can see I've got two here. I've got a basic form, and I've got an event campaign on my screen right now. All right, next tab is the Emails tab. Similar to the Actions tab, once you set up an email, this is where you're going to see it. This contains both draft emails that you've set up but not sent, but you're also going to have sent emails here as well, where you can look at statistics and things like that. A couple other tabs here. We've got mobile messaging. This is something that I think we're going to start rolling out to folks soon, but you can actually send text messages through Action Network now. So it's no longer just an email platform. So very exciting, kind of a new feature. Poor People's Campaign was actually one of the first groups to use that in a big way. So we should take some pride in that. Next, we've got the Reports tab. I don't have a report saved here, but if you create a report, this is where you're going to find it later. Activist tab, this is kind of a strange tab. It's not one that folks use a lot. But if you set up an activist report, which we can help you do if you want, it's probably something we should talk through individually. You can see some of it here. Keeping going syndication, this is where you can find emails that have been sent to you from like the national organization. So if you know that there's an email coming from the National Poor People's Campaign that you want to send out in your state, this is where you're going to find it. So you can actually see an example from the 26th here. Part of the More Organizers campaign. If I wanted to send this email out to our list here, I'd click that red send button and walk through the steps. I'm going to skip some of these other tabs: organizers, discussion. These are kind of administrative tabs where we could see like who else is there, other admins, how you can invite more admins, and kind of your space in the network, but not super important for everyday use. All right, so that is the dashboard. Again, if you got questions about anything I'm talking about as I'm going along, type it in the chat box. I'll pause and answer it then, otherwise I'll come back. So let's go to emails next. So email is something that I know everybody's going to be doing, just about everybody's going to be doing, so let's take a moment to walk through that. So when I want to set up an email, I'm going to go to the Start Organizing menu at the top. I'm going to go over to People, the People tab, and I'm going to click Emails. Let's go ahead and do that. And here we go. Setting up an email in Action Network is super easy. There are literally just 3 steps. The first step that we're on right now, this is the step where you're actually going to write the content of the email. You're going to set it up to say the things you want it to say. So let me kind of walk through what's going on here. First thing you should know, there's actually 2 modes. So there is the editor mode. It's also called the visual HTML mode, and that's the mode I'm in right now. What that means is it's just a wrapper at the top, which you don't see on this screen. And all you're going to be doing here is typing in the body of your email down here. So the wrapper, that's the visual HTML version, that's the kind of older version of the tool. That's the version of the tool that's simplest. And folks have some experience with that. let me flip over to the drag and drop version. So I'm going to click the little slide bar there. It's going to give me a warning, just so you know, if you switch versions from drag and drop to visual, everything you've written on this page is going to erase. So this is why it's the first thing you need to do. The first thing you need to do is decide which of these two tools are you going to use. So let's go ahead and click OK. It's going to flip me over. All right, so we're going to walk through the editor mode today since it's a little bit more complex, but it's actually easier to use. It's more powerful. All right, so I've selected the drag and drop mode. That's the editor mode we're going to use. So then I need to just kind of start filling this out. I got my subject here. This is the grade subject line. Your from name, so this could be, North Carolina Poor People's Campaign. I'm just going to write Christian here today. That's my name. And then the reply to address. You all have email addresses you typically use for this, like Delaware@poorpeoplescampaign.org, something like that. Just know that whatever you put in here, this is when people click reply to your email, the replies are going to go to them. So I'm just going to do my email for today. Actually, let's just do that. We'll just do our Zendesk help desk email address. Put that right in there. Next, you see the preview text here. So preview text is very similar to the subject line, but preview text is what's shown kind of underneath the subject line when you're on your inbox and you're seeing a list of all of your emails. It's the little kind of preview text that shows up there. Again, it's kind of a newer thing. The last couple of years has been added to email. So I like to kind of just write some of the first words of the first paragraph or some other kind of teaser text to get people in. Something like that. All right, so we got that. Now next we have a drop-down, apply an email layout. So this is where you're going to start to get into the meat of your email here. So I'm going to choose a layout. There are two built-in layouts. Layouts are something you have to create beforehand. If you need help setting up a layout, if that's not something your group has, we are happy to help you set up a layout for you. We're happy to create one for you or teach you how to do it. That's definitely something that we do individually. So again, reach out to that support line and we can help you with that. But I'm just going to select one of the layouts I've already created. I'm going to select the training layout 1, and I'm going to click apply. And there we go. Let's scroll down a little bit. Now in my email body, I have the layout. So this is the layout. And this version of the email, this drag and drop version that we selected up above, that's what this does, is it actually provides a structure that we set up ahead of time. Here I've got some of that funny Latin text that I'm going to replace. I've got some placeholder images as well. So this is the more powerful version of the tool in that you have more flexibility to change your text right here. And we have some buttons over here. So let me get into this a little bit and kind of show how this works. So I've got some preview text here. If I want to edit any of this, I'm just going to click in. I'm going to double click, get right into the lip sum, and I can just start typing. If I want to get rid of the lip sum, I could select and delete, and it is gone. Same thing with the image. So I can click on this image. It's going to bring some stuff over here on the right-hand sidebar. So look, I've got this area right here. And now I can drag a new image, which I will do. I will drag an image from my desktop to this area right here. And it'll be inserted. Let's go ahead and do that. There we go. Simple as that. Now we've got the Poor People's Campaign logo right there. Close that up. We've got a button. Button's a great thing to link to. So I'm going to click that button. I'm going to change some of that text. Something like that, or maybe sign the petition, complete our survey. And then I've got my URL. I'm just going to send folks to Google right now. But this is where you'd link your event or your form or whatever you want there. And of course, I can change the color. So I've got a tool right over here to allow me to change the color. So I can click that background color, and I can make it yellow. I can click the text, and I can change that to black. Simple. Down below, I've got some more text here that I can change. But let's say I've got this and now I need to do something else, right? I need to really kind of step away from what the template is and do something crazy. Easy to do. I'm going to use these buttons here in the sidebar. So I've got a bunch of buttons over here. I'm not going to walk through all of these, but you can kind of explore on your own. Let's say I need to add another 2-column section kind of above my Donate Today button, but below this section here. So I'm going to click the columns, click and drag where I want it to be. I'm going to put it below my Donate Today. And then I can set how many columns I want right over on this side. So I've got 1 column, 2 columns, 4 columns. I've got a weighted column. So now I've got 1 column that's 2/3 of the width, 1/3 of the width over there. That's that. And now let's say I want to add an image. I can click and drag the image text, the image box, and move it over there. Click on the image, and here I can upload a new image, just like we did a moment ago. So this is the layout version of the tool. Are folks familiar with this? I'd love to know kind of in the chat if folks have been using this version of the tool, or have more folks been using the other version of the tool, which is the one where you have the wrapper and you're just doing the text body of the email. Great. Joanne's used both. What about other folks? For the drag and drop, yep. Great. Excellent. Okay, so we got a little bit of everything here. So what I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to flip back to the wrapper version. So I'm going to go ahead and click this button up here at top to flip back. Again, I'm going to lose everything. That's okay. I knew that was going to happen, but let me just flip back. All right. So this is the visual version again. This is the oldest version. This is kind of the default version. So again, subject, I'm just going to fill that up with some garbage right now. But this version, of course, you just select your wrapper up here. I'm just going to do the basic logo. Again, you have to set your wrappers up ahead of time, but there we have the basic logo. It doesn't show up here, but now I've got the text area down here that I can just put in my text. So this is where I could put in the lip sum if I had it, but I don't. You just write your text right in there. And then you've got your little buttons and we call this a WYSIWYG menu. If I said that already, sorry, but WYSIWYG stands for what you see is what you get, which just means you don't have to know any HTML. But you have all your buttons here. So if I wanted to highlight text, I can click that B button, just like in Google Docs or in Word, that becomes bold. I can click the I and that becomes italics. If I want to do the image, I can click that image link from the WYSIWYG bar, click that. And again, just like before, I can drag and drop a file right there. See if I can actually get it done. Nope, I'm just gonna have to click the choose file button today. And let's go ahead and choose the image. There we go. That's super big. That's too big for me. So I'm going to go ahead and click on it. It's going to pop open this little thing right here. I can tell it that's too big. So I'm going to go down and just set that width to 400 pixels. And here I could do my link, right? So if I wanted to send people to Google, we could do that and save. So that's this version of the tool. So there's a couple other things I want to show here if folks aren't familiar with it. So let's talk about clips and mail merge. So let's say I want to do something fancy, and this right now works in both versions of the tool. The layout version we just did, or this version, it's the same. Let's do Dear. Then I'm going to go ahead and click the clips button in the WYSIWYG bar. And here I've got a bunch of mail merge fields. So this is where I can mail merge in something from the supporter record into the email. So if I want to say Dear first name, just like that. And it inserts that little bit of code. Now, as long as we know that person's first name, it's going to say Dear Christian or Dear Peter. If they don't, it's going to say Dear Friend, or maybe if I wanted it, it would say Dear Member, something like that. There are a bunch of clips. First name's the obvious one that folks are going to use a lot, but there's actually a ton of stuff here that you could do. So you could mail merge in their city or their state, things like that as well. All right, that's enough for here. I'm going to go ahead and go to the next step. Let's go to save and target our email. All right, so this is the targeting tool. This is the same as the reports tool. So we're going to go into this just a little bit deeper in a moment when we get to reporting. But this is what I do to target my email. So on the left-hand side, I'm going to include people. On the right-hand side, I'm going to exclude people. So if I wanted to send this to everybody in Alabama, I put it over here. And now only people in Alabama would get that email. Let's just reset that. If I wanted to send it to everybody except those folks in Alaska, I'd put Alaska over on the right-hand side. So it's like including on one side, excluding on the other side. If you don't do anything, everybody's going to get it. So state something you may target on. Another one, there's lots of targeting options. I'm not going to go through all of these. But another one that's very frequently used is the tags. So I'm going to scroll down and find tags. So if I want to send this to just people that have the more training tag, so people who have done the more training, I could just do that. And now anybody who has that tag in the database in my group will get this email. We'll go ahead and skip the rest of this for now, but lots of options here. Happy to answer questions about them. Let me go down to the bottom and click save and preview and send. So we're going to go to the third and final step here. All right. So this is the final step. So this shows me the email. This is a preview of the email. I need to select my email wrapper. It looks like I forgot to do that. Do the built-in wrapper, or did I not set up the wrapper correctly? I may not have set up my wrapper correctly when I set this group up. Anyway, you'd see a preview here with your wrapper had I set that up correctly. It looks like I did not. But you see the preview of your email. You can go down below. You're going to see what your targeting is. So what I just did in the previous step, going to people that have a more training tag. And then it would tell me how many people are going to get this email. This email will be sent to 0 activists. There's nobody in this group, so I can't actually send it to somebody. If I click the send email button, it would basically send right away. It's going to give you a warning, but it'll send right away. I would always recommend before you do that, send yourself a test email down here. So it's got your email address right there. You can click save and send test, and it's going to send you a test in your inbox. Always recommend doing that. A couple other tips. Make sure you click every single link in that email. So when you test an email, make sure you're clicking all your links so they're all going to the right place. And that is it. That is the email tool. I hope that's fairly simple. Again, you got questions, type in the chat box. I think we'll come back and get them in just a moment here. I'm going to keep going, and I'm going to talk about events now. So let's go to the event. All right. Again, I'm going to go to the Start Organizing menu at the top. I'm going to go to Actions. I'm going to click Events. All right. So here is the event. Let's go ahead and title my event. Call it Rally for Good Jobs. Something like that. Need to do a date and a time. Do 9:30. Location name, let's say the park. And then the address. So I'd write the full address there if I wanted. But let's say I don't have a physical address. Let's say it's another training. I can actually check this checkbox right here, and it removes that requirement to have an address. So I'm just going to do that today. We'll say this doesn't have a physical address. You can put your host contact information here, your phone number or email address. Remember, this will be made public, so decide if that's actually something you want to do or not. And then an event description. So this is our Rally for Good Jobs. Now, down below, this is a very important step, and forgetting it can cause you problems. You need to make sure that under sponsored by, your group name is there. If your group name is not there, if it's nothing, when you save it, you may lose access to your group, may lose access to your event, rather. You need to make sure you're sponsoring it by the group you're in. So if you're in North Carolina, just make sure it says North Carolina here. If you're in Nebraska, make sure it says Nebraska there. All right, that's good for the event details, pretty simple. I'm also going to change what I'm asking my supporters to provide. So By default, it's going to say first name, last name, email, and zip. I'm going to click that edit form button. Brings up this tool here. I'm going to go to the question library. I'm going to find some other questions that are available for me. I'm going to do the mobile number. And then I'm going to click and drag it to my form. I'm going to put that right underneath email. Let's say I also want to do the religion or denomination. So I'm going to click and drag that. We'll put that on the bottom. You can also create questions on a fly if you have those admin abilities. So you can use that here. My recommendation is to set up custom fields ahead of time. That way you're not just kind of creating them on the fly and your account gets kind of littered with a bunch of custom fields. So it's one way you can keep your account clean is to think about them first, set them up first before you go set up an event. We can talk more about that if folks have questions. I'm going to save the form. Got our fields over there. Let's go ahead and click save and go to next step now. Here's the thank you page, pretty simple. You can change what this says, so thanks, see you there. I can delete that since I don't really want that text there. You can actually completely remove the ability to share it on Facebook. So if I click over here, it removes sharing options. So this is kind of a private event. You don't want to encourage people to share on Facebook. Might be something you want to do. You can add it back if you'd like as well. Now down here it says instructions for your attendees. This is where you could add a note that is only showed to people after they RSVP. So you could add directions here, right? So show up at the park at the north entrance. The other thing I suggest adding here is if it's a Zoom meeting, add the Zoom information here. So if it's a call-in, add the call-in information here. This is the perfect place for it. That way it's not public, it's not shown to everybody, but it is immediately shown to folks after they RSVP. Something like that. All right, at this point, I'm going to save and publish my event, but I'm not done yet. So save and publish. It is published, but there are a couple other things you need to be doing every time you set an event. One of them is select the page wrapper. So by default, and let me actually just open it. I'm going to click View Event so to show you what we've got. By default, you get the Action Network wrapper, which is the big blue thing at the top and this big text down here. I hate this. I think it's kind of ugly. And I also know that it's going to discourage people from signing up. I always strongly recommend you select a page wrapper. So I'm going to use this drop down right here. It looks like my page wrapper that I set up last night did not work, so I am not going to be able to show that. I will have to fix that. Apologies for that. But you should have page wrappers here, and you can select one there. If you do not have page wrappers and you need help setting them up, go ahead and email us at the help desk, and we will help you set them up. Everybody should have a page wrapper. It should be a requirement that you use a page wrapper basically on any page you set up. Wish I could show you that, but my mistake. Next time. All right, a couple of the things you need to be doing here on this page before you're done. So we got to go down to these tabs here. So one, let's click on the discussion tab. There is a discussion board that is available to people who have RSVP'd for the event that allows them to talk to each other. I'm going to recommend that if this is going to a lot of people, you turn this off, because there's no way for an individual to opt out of getting those discussion emails. And that has been something that's been a problem in the past. If people start talking, you can easily get everybody who's RSVP'd, hundreds or thousands of people, getting dozens and dozens of emails. It quickly overwhelms us and people get angry. So my recommendation is to always turn off the discussion board. A couple of the things you're going to want to do. Let's go to the responses tab. So these are what we call autoresponder emails. So and this is done automatically, there's an email sent to everybody that RSVPs. It's going to be sent immediately after they RSVP. This is that email. So it's basic text here. There's some mail merge stuff here. It mail merges in the event title and the description and contact information. You have it. It has the link. That's fine. What I always like to do is I like to put in, again, like the details and instructions of the event. So if I have a Zoom link, I always make sure I put my Zoom link right here in this auto response email. If I have instructions on going to the north entrance of the park, I make sure to put that in this email. So this one goes out automatically. Definitely recommend you edit this and customize it for your event. There's a second one that will be sent out 24 hours before the event. This is also super important. If you set these up and you add in the relevant information like the Zoom link or the call-in number, you're going to greatly increase the number of people who actually show up, because they're going to get this email and it's going to remind them, hey, I got to show up tomorrow, and that I got my information right here. So super important to do these as well. All right, one more thing that I know folks have a lot of questions about, and that is tags. So let's say I want everybody who RSVPs for this event to get a very particular tag. I can do that. I can set that up automatically right here. So there's a couple other buttons here, including cancel. I can edit the event. One of them is edit tags. Let's go ahead and click that. And here I can select tags. So these are any of the tags that are in their system. So I'm going to do more training. So if I'm going to select that and save tags. And you can see it actually shows you that that tag is now there. It's got the little thing there, excuse me. So this is the way that now anybody who RSVPs to this event is going to have that more training tag added to them. So this is super helpful if you're doing some of this organizing. I know we're using some of these tags in these ways. You know, again, that's how you do it. Happy to go into more details if folks have questions about that. All right, I see the question was the thing I'm getting to next. So how do you find who RSVP'd? So like, let's say later, you as an admin, you need to pull the list of folks, you need to know who's coming. You can click that RSVP tag. So here we have the list of the last 100 people that RSVP'd. I'm the only one because I just created that, but they will all show up here. If I want everybody, what I can do is go down here. I can click the green generate button. It says generate a new report. I'm going to click that right now. Just click download. You don't really need to do anything. It's kind of advanced, but just click download CSV. And what this does is now it, as the alert says, it takes Action Network a moment to generate this report on the back end. But once you've done that, and then what's going to happen is you're going to get an email in your inbox with a link telling you, oh, click here and download the report. Or what you can go do, or you can do is you can come back later to this same page. Just going to refresh. I can go to the RSVP tab, and now I can click download. So now it says over here, it says this report was generated today at this time. And if I want to download that CSV with all the names, I click download and I can download a file. So that's how you get access to the folks that have RSVP'd. So if you need to do follow-up or you need to upload them somewhere else, that's how you do that. All right, so that is it on events. Let's go over to reports. So that's the next thing I want to cover. Let's go ahead and click the people button up here. I'm going to go down to reports. All right, so this tool should look familiar because this is exactly what I showed you a moment ago for the event, for the email tool. It is the same tool. So the tool you use to target your email is the same as the reports tool. So you just have to learn this once. Let's talk a little bit more about what you can do here. So a question that a lot of folks have asked is, how do I get a report of everybody that has a particular tag? This is how you do that. Let's walk through it. So again, I go to people, I click reports. It takes me to this screen. At the top, I want to just make sure that my group is the one that's selected there. So the training group, or North Carolina or Nebraska or whatever. I need to give my report a name. So let's just do, let's just do more training, something like that. And then again, I can use my include and exclude. So I can go down on this side. I can scroll all the way down. I can find the tag. I can do more, do maybe more organizer, something like that, a little bit different. And let's say I want to do that, but only folks that are in my state, and maybe I'm in the national group, for example. I could exclude folks that are in different states, or again, I could do just Alabama on this side. So now I've got two criteria on the left-hand side. I've got Alabama and that. So what this is going to be, it's an and, it's a logical and. So it needs to be Alabama and have the tag. So it's not or, it's and. They need to have both of them. But now if I did two things in the state, so if I did Alabama, Arizona, Alaska, and American Samoa, inside this, it's an or. So now it means people who are in any of these states and have this tag. Same thing if I did a tag down here. If I did an additional tag, it's or, so it's either or now in line. So it's have this tag or this tag, and are in the states up here. So I just want to make sure folks understand how that works. And there's a lot of options here. So let's talk about a couple of other targeting options. So let's remove the tags. I can actually target people who RSVP'd for an event automatically right from here. I don't even need to use a tag for that. I can go over to actions. Again, everything's an action in Action Network if your users do it, if your supporters do it. So let's click here, and I've got a list of all my actions. So the event I just created, Rally for Good Jobs, is right here. So if I clicked that, now if I ran this report, actually let's just get rid of our states here. That'll confuse us if we leave that there. So now if I ran this report, it would only find the people who RSVP'd for this event. So this is actually the second way to pull a report of people who RSVP'd for an event. I showed you the other one on the event page, but this is the other way. You just create a report to do it. You can do crazier things. You can actually target people who opened a particular email or were sent a particular email. So if I wanted to, target anybody who was sent this email, I could do that here. There's some dynamic stuff. So if you are fundraising, you can target donors, or you can target donors who gave like $50 in the last 60 days. Lots of dynamic things you can do here. And then same thing for email open activity. So I could target people who opened 10 emails in the last 100 days. So these are like our super activists, targeting the most active people. There is a lot of power and functionality here. I'm not going to go through all of them, though. If you have questions about it, please type it in and I can try to answer that. But I want to come down here and talk about one more thing that's super important, especially when you're doing reports. You have people in your group that are no longer subscribed to your email list. They can still RSVP for things. They can still sign a petition. And if you need to pull a report of all people, regardless of whether they're subscribed to your email or not, you need to make sure you're going down here. By default, it's only going to select the subscribed people. But if I want everybody, I want to click all of these boxes right here. Subscribed, bouncing, spam complaint, previous spam complaint, all of this stuff. So that's a really important step. If you're pulling a report and you're thinking that's not the right amount of people, I'm missing people, this is definitely the first thing to check. Did I select everybody on my list, or did I select just the subscribed people? There's another option for mobile subscriptions. Again, I'm not going to cover that now because I don't think many folks are using that yet. That's something we can talk about at a later date. All right, I've got my targeting done here. Let's just go save and select data. On my next tab here, I've got my fields. So it defaults with some of these basic fields, but I can add fields. So like I can add mobile number, I can add city, state, whatever. Save and click results. Again, this takes a few minutes actually, so it's not dynamic, it's not immediate. So it actually says targeted 0 right now. If you see that and you think that's wrong, it may just be that it's still thinking, and you may just need to come back in 5 minutes and refresh your page. It says 0 here because I don't have anybody in this group. But the next thing to do, once you find people here, once this shows up, and you also get an email telling you when it's done, then you can go over here, you can generate the report. So I click generate. Again, this takes Action Network a moment to do some stuff on the back end. You'll get an email when it's done. Otherwise, I can stay here and I can click refresh. Sometimes you have to click refresh a couple times because you're faster than the machine is. Looks like I am faster than the machine right now. Anyway, at some point soon, this will change. This section right here, download last report, will change. It'll say report generated on September 16th at 1:40, and the download button will become green. And then I can click that download button and it will download the list. Again, you're also going to get emails with links to take you to these pages. So you don't have to just wait here. You can just use the links in your email. But this is the other way to do it. A couple other powerful things here. If you need to add tags to people, you can do that. So if everybody on this report needs to get a new tag, I could click the add tags to all activists, and I could add the Alaska tag, which is not a very good tag, so let's ignore that one, but maybe attended CD action, something like that, right? So I can add a tag to everybody that had that report. All right, so that is the 3 major things I wanted to cover. So we're going to jump to questions in a moment, but I just want to remind folks of 2 things before we jump to questions. So how can you get more help? So if you need more help, that's what we're here for. You can attend these trainings. I think we're actually going to do these fairly often. So we're going to do these kind of on a regular basis, both kind of this entry-level training, but I think eventually we're going to have some higher level trainings. We're going to get in more depth on some of the other features in there. So you can for sure join another training. The other thing you can do is there's help documentation. So if I go down to the bottom of any page in Action Network, there's a link kind of hidden down here that is called Help and Videos. You can click that. This knowledge base has tons and tons of information in it. So let's say I needed to know how to do some email stuff. I'll click that email button. Then over on the side, I've got a couple options. So I can see mass email. I can click that little arrow and they have all these articles. I can also see some of those articles here. So there's some videos. So I click a video tutorial, and this is like a, I think like a 15-minute, a 15-minute video tutorial showing you how to just do emails. So this is great. This is a great place to go and get help. Articles, videos, lots of frequent asked questions are over here. There's a fax down below. To be honest, I even go here sometimes when I forget how to do something. This is the place I typically go to get more help. But the next thing to do to get help, as I said before, email us. So email the support desk. We are here to help you. That's ppc@concertedaction.zendesk.com. That will ping our entire team here, and one of us will get back to you just as soon as we can with the answer or ask for more questions, things like that. All right, so I have been talking a lot, so let's go to some questions. So let me go ahead and turn my video back on. Peter, can I toss it to you? I was not able to follow along super well, so are there any questions that I could come back and answer?
I think we've covered most of them. I just wanted to double check. If someone RSVPs for an event, but they don't show up to it, does that tag stay?
Yes, it does. So, right, if you add a tag on that page, like we did a moment ago, it's added to everybody when they RSVP. So it's not if they show up, it's when they RSVP. So if you want to only give a tag to people who show up, you probably don't want to add it in that step. That's probably not something you want to do. You probably want to, do an upload later, or you want to individually tag people, because otherwise it is automatic. All right, Joanne's got a question here. Can you mention the plus versus list icons when you're selecting?
I have a question. I'm not sure if you guys covered it. I was in Action Network and I was creating an event in the email, and I think I emailed one of you guys. You responded back to me. On your email, when you have a button and you're trying to put register here for the button, you want someone to click there on your button to register for an event. How do you get that link to match with that button?
Good question. All right, so let's go here. I'm going to go back to the drag and drop version because that's the easiest place to see the buttons. Let's go ahead and add a button. So I'm just going to click and drag. Got a button there. So I'm going to click on it and watch what happens on the right-hand side there. I got a new menu that pops up. So this over here now is where I can do that stuff. So URL, that's internet nerd speak for a link. So this is where I type in, you need to do the full link here. So I need to do my HTTPs, http://google.com. So that's how you do the link there. And now when everybody clicks that button, then they will go to that that URL. So again, you click on that button that you've just added, and you got some options there. And again, you can actually change the color here as well. So that's how you can kind of do some of that stuff. So. Good question. All right, I got a question over here from Joanne. You see, Joanne, do you want to take yourself off mute and ask me that question, and we can walk through it?
Yeah, so I was just asking if you would mention to people so they realize that that shortcut is on the page where you did where you do anything that you select. If you go to like actions or people, it doesn't really matter. And you get that drop down list over there. And yeah, and then when you click on, you see, yeah, to add versus the list versus that will give you, and those two, just mention it to people so they know they can go and take a look at the list of reports or forms or whatever that they have, or the plus sign to add it.
Yep,
just so people realize that, yeah.
Yep, yeah, that's a good point. And this is actually kind of a newer feature, which is why I forget it's even there. But right, so if I wanted to just see a list of all my reports, I could hover over reports, and I can kind of go over there to that kind of bulleted list. I click that, and it's going to show me all the reports. So it's actually going to take me to that tab that was right there in the middle of the screen. Same thing if I wanted to create a new email, I can just click that little plus button, and it'll bring up a new email. So that's a quick way to do that. That's kind of a newer feature with Action Network.
And then when you're there on the third one in my list, saying to just mention to people that they can use that duplicate. So if I went into that list of reports or emails or whatever it is, I could duplicate that guy, because say it's a monthly meeting and it happens all the time, and you know, you could just create that exact same thing and just update a few pieces as opposed to starting from scratch every time.
Yeah, that is a good tip as well. So we're talking about this button right here, duplicate. You can do it for emails or actions, so either of those. If I click duplicate, it would copy it and make a new copy of it, and I can just edit it to you know, change the things that need to be changed. So good suggestion.
And then the other duplicate that I was referring to is when you're actually in the drag and drop version, if you're on a button, because we end up with sometimes a list of things and we need an RSVP button, and we actually use yellow and black. So I don't know if you can make the default, you know how the default is the blue with the white writing. So as opposed to having to change that color every time, I just click on the button and then use that duplicate over there. Yeah, yep. And just a reminder for people that they can, you know, especially if you put words in it or you change the color, you don't have to go through that effort every time.
Yep. And now if I click that duplicate button, now I've got a yellow one. So that's another good tip. Thank you.
Yep, you're welcome. And then I think one other thing. Oh, I think you guys probably answered the thing you're saying that we can't really tag people for like the participants list, because we've been going through that too, like trying to get information out of the Zoom link for who actually came versus who RSVP'd. So is there a way to get that list?
No, that is tough. That is tough to do. So that's something that, yeah, you can try to pull it out of Zoom, but that's, you know, that's kind of tough. Yeah, you're gonna probably need to take attendance and think about that. Yeah, there's not a super easy way to do that, especially not in Action Network, because you know Action Network unfortunately doesn't know if they showed up or not. It's not that clever. So all right, we got a private question here. Let me see if I can tackle this here. So when I create an event, do I need to send a separate email? Yes, you do. So if you create an event, it's not going to alert anybody, right? So if I create an event over here, nobody is told about this event. So I first create the event, and then I need to create an email, and I need to link to the event in the email. This is just setting it up. It's not going to alert anybody. Great. Other questions folks have? I'm happy to answer questions about things I talked about, or you've got other questions on Action Network. I'm happy to take those as well.
Thank you for that answer. It got through to me when I heard you say that, and I was not at the computer.
Good.
Okay? But that explained it, because somebody else taught me to do that, and it was just not making sense to me. Okay, you create the event, but they won't know about it unless you tell them about it. Got it.
Yep, exactly.
Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry. Can we talk about one other thing, Kristen, when you were talking about that event on the, so I duplicated an event and I didn't realize that there is that sharing. When you looked at the tabs on the event and you showed us the response, that there's actually, this guy really messed me up because we ended up sharing something and it had the old information. So you're in here. Oh yeah, that last tab down in the center of the page, sharing and tracking. Yes. If
Yep.
you do duplicate, you have to clean this guy up. I didn't
Yep.
realize that until like maybe 3 events later, and we were sharing from the first event that I duplicated from. So if you do duplication, remember to clean that guy up.
Yeah, that is a really good flag there, and it's super easy to forget. Right. So we didn't get into this in too much detail, but you know, this is how you can do custom Facebook shares. So now when people share it, like I can tell Facebook exactly what to show up here. I can pick a new image, right? So I can get kind of fancy here. Same thing for Twitter. But if you do that and you clone it, you got to remember to duplicate it. You got to remember to edit it, right? Because it's going to copy everything over.
Yeah.
I'll be honest, I don't use the duplicate button specifically for that reason. So I have found, just me personally, I forget too often. I would just prefer to create from scratch. But it's a personal thing for me.
Yeah.
I know other people find duplicate buttons super easy. So whatever works best for you.
Okay, thanks.
Good questions. Any other questions folks might have? So
I would
when I do
definitely
training,
encourage, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
nope, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, I would definitely encourage people to use the new drag and drop guide, because I shied away from it for the longest time. But then once I played around with it for a little bit, it really has been beneficial. And, you know, like you demonstrated all of those different widgets that you can put in there and, you know, just spruce up that basic text that I was using before.
Yeah, one of the historical complaints about Action Network is that you couldn't make pretty emails. Well, they
Yeah,
solved that problem with this thing. So you can make some pretty, you can make some
definitely.
complicated emails now, and it's easy to do. So it
Yeah.
is a fairly new tool, but it's a great one if you, you know, take some time to figure it out.
Yeah.
We have a question here in chat. Can we put in videos too, or just pics? No, and the reason why is actually not Action Network's fault. So that is the email protocol. So just kind of the thing on the internet that defines how email works. It forbids video in emails. There are a couple ways that some companies kind of fudge that a little bit. Gmail tries to fudge it a little bit, but for uses that are beyond like a single domain, so for beyond just gmail.com, there is no way to put in a video directly in the email. So what I do is I screen cap the video and I just make it a link it off to YouTube or Facebook, but not Action Network's fault, it's email's fault. I think there was somebody else, a gentleman maybe I heard a moment ago that had a question. Did I?
Yeah, I was going to ask about Facebook and Twitter. If we're using this tool, but we're not actually a Facebook admin or a Twitter admin, does it actually have the credentials to do that, or is it just not going to work if we don't have those credentials?
Good question. So it doesn't actually post anything for you. What it does is it's setting it up so that when somebody shares it on their own, that stuff shows up. So it's not posting to the Poor People's Campaign Facebook page. But if I, as a user, Christian Norton, wanted to share that RSVP page to my own page, what we're telling Action Network to do is we're defining what is going to be shared by those individuals. So then later, like if Peter went to share my event, I can kind of define what Facebook will show up there. That's what it's doing. So that you can do because it's actually not needing permissions, but it's just kind of setting defaults. It's not actually posting anything. It's going to be you as an individual or your members, supporters who are going to share it. That's who's going to see it, if that makes sense.
That makes sense. Thank you.
Yep.
I'm pretty new to this, so I just want to check that I understand the connection between events how you get out an event. So I understand that you set up the event first, but then how do you send it out through the email? How does that work?
Yep. So I am in the email editor now. So let's take this as it is. So let's say I've already set up an event. So it's already set up. I've created it just like I did a moment ago, the Rally for Good Jobs event. Now I want to mail this out. So in my email, what I might do is I might put a button right here, or I might put an image, something like that. I'm going to click a button, and I am going to add the link right here. So how do you get the link for your event? Let's talk about that. So I'm going to go back. I'm going to click on Actions. I'm going to click on Events. I'm going to click on the List button. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to actually open this in a new tab so I don't lose the page that I'm on. Here's my list of actions. And if I just click on the title right there, Rally for Good Jobs, that's the page. So this is the page that you're going to send to your users, to your members. So this is where an individual would RSVP. So I can just copy this from the very top, copy the URL.
Oh.
And then when I go over here, again, I clicked on the button. And then over here on the URL, I just paste it right there. That's how you do that. And now when I send this email out, they can click that button, they can go off. Same thing for image, right? So I could do it for an image too. So I click that image. Let's upload something just so it looks a little bit realer. Upload that image, super big. Let's make that a little bit smaller. Get rid of auto width, shrink that down. And again, down here, there's a little action section. I can put that URL right there. Again, I'm just going to paste it right in. And now when somebody clicks on either that button or the image, it's going to take them to that RSVP page. So that's how you do that.
Super easy. Thank you.
You're welcome.
For people who did RSVP, you know, like we send them a separate email that includes meeting info. Is there a separate URL that we would be able to get for people who've already registered to send them to a page that has that information?
There is not, no. So you can only link directly to the RSVP page. So if you have that information that you need to kind of get out, I would just either paste it right here in the email or make sure that those autoresponders on the, I would do both, honestly. I would do both in the email and in those autoresponders that we set up a moment ago. Just make sure that those are set up correctly so that they get the information, you know, right when they RSVP or 24 hours before. But otherwise, you need to kind of paste it somewhere else.
So whatever they see immediately after they RSVP, that's the only chance they have to see it. And if we don't also send it to them another way, they have no way to get back to it.
Yeah, that is technically true. There, I don't want to get too detailed because there is a workaround to that, but I don't want to get, it's a little tricky, so I don't want to get too involved in that. But this is, it kind of, you're kind of highlighting the reason why it's super important to do these autoresponders. So let me just go to the Rally for Good Jobs. I mean, you're really highlighting the exact reason why we do these. So it is, I think it is absolutely required that every time you set up an RSVP page, you are doing the 2 autoresponders. So again, one email immediately when somebody RSVPs, I would put all my Zoom link information here or my call-in information or head to the park, whatever, but also this one. This one goes out automatically. You as an admin don't have to do anything else. It goes out 24 hours before the event. Again, I'd put my Zoom link information here. That's the best way to remind them. You don't need to send out another email. You don't need to remember to send out another email. It's here. But I think this is so critically important that I believe it's kind of required as an organizer. I need to make sure I always do this when I'm doing an event.
When they get the email and the email includes the link to add it to their calendar, how do we make sure that the calendar appointment includes the Zoom information?
That's a good question. That is a good question. I will actually need to look into that one. I don't know the answer off the top of my head. I need to check into that and figure out the exact way that would work, because I don't want to mislead folks here. That's not something I've done before. I would just personally, I would paste it right in here. That's why I don't know, but that's actually a really good question. And I will need to look into that. So that's a good question. I will look into it, and I will email the folks that attended today. So I will kind of follow up with some more information about that. You stumped me.
I only had the question because that's where I went for today's meeting and it wasn't there.
Well, that means I need to change something as an organizer, don't I? So yeah, this is a really good question. I'll figure this out, and we'll follow up on this group.
And you will include that answer in whatever information we receive?
Yes.
Thank you.
Oh, so you can pre-schedule your event reminder to go out?
Yep. That's what this is here, this event reminder right here.
How did you get there? What
So
tab?
after you publish an event, you kind of come to this blue page. You start out on the statistics tab.
Okay.
It's the responses tab.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah, I think it's a little unfortunate that they've kind of hidden it here because I do think it's so important, but that's where it is, and there's not much we can do about that. Okay, we got a question about emails and how to, show how to do both scheduling and previewing links. So let's go back to emails. Let's do this one. Okay, so this is an email. This is actually a syndicated email to the group here. And we want to do a couple things. So we want to, check our links and things like that before we send this out. So one thing you can do is you can click the Save and Preview button here, the big red button. So this pops up a screen that kind of shows you what the email looks like, and you can click things here. So I can click that "Are you with us?" and that will pop it open into a tab. So this is one place where you can start testing your links. So if I had intended, like this line here to be linked, and I come in here and I click it and it's not working, then I know I've got a problem. So this is one of the places where you can kind of double check your work to make sure that your links are correct. The other place, and this is the one that I always do every single time I send an email, is I send myself a test email. And me and my team, part of our rules about sending an email are every time we send a test email, we look at all the images in the test email to make sure they're all working, and we click all the links in the email to make sure they're all working as well. So those are the two things that we always do when we're testing the email. So that's one thing you can do here. Then there's a question about scheduling the email. So let's go do that. Click Save and Target. And we'll just skip ahead here. So big red button says send now. Or send email. That will send now immediately. You can schedule that email ahead of time by clicking Schedule. And then it's going to allow you to set a date. So let's say I could set it for Saturday and at 4 p.m. If I click Confirm and Schedule, that will schedule the email. Now at Saturday at 4 p.m., this email is going out automatically at that point. So this is something you can do if you wanted to set it up in advance and have it go out a little bit later. You can use this button to schedule an email to go out later. But remember, if you do this, it's going out. So make sure you're ready. Don't schedule it unless you're ready for it to go out. Meaning, like, make sure you've checked all your links, checked all your images, all that good stuff before you schedule an email. Good questions, though. Anybody else got questions? Okay, well, I think we're going to wrap up then. I really appreciate everybody coming today. This was the first one we've done with the Poor People's Campaign, so I hope this was smooth and helpful and informative. I am going to do a couple things. So I'm going to send out kind of an email to everybody that attended today or RSVP'd, including the answer to that question of how to include Zoom links in the calendar invite, because that is a really good question. I'll get the answer to that. I'm also going to remind folks one last time that if you need help, make sure you're emailing us at tpc@concertedaction.zendesk.com. We're here to answer your questions, whether that's sending you a couple email answers, or getting on an independent Zoom call with you, doing a phone call. We're here to support you guys, so just let us know. All right, and that's a wrap. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
If we're brand new to this and don't yet have credentials for Action Network, is the next step to email Regina, or what do we do next?
Yeah, you can email the help desk and let me know that you don't have your credentials, and I can check with Regina or Amy, and I'll just verify you're supposed to have them. And then once you do, then I'll set you up with it, because I'm probably going to be the one that sets it up eventually anyway.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Yeah. All right, thank you, everybody. Have a nice day, and thanks for joining this training, and we will talk again later.
Thanks.